Hi, I'm Father Joel, and welcome to Pilgrim Priest. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm grateful to everyone who makes these episodes possible, especially those who've made generous donations, but also those of you that listen regularly and that leave ratings at the podcast apps and share us with your friends. Thank you for tuning in, and God bless you. I was once out to dinner. I can't remember for sure if it was a graduation party or if it was a ministry opportunity. Anyway, I was sitting across the table from someone and they looked at me and they said, there's so many religions in the world. Which one's the real one, Father? And I said, I'm a Catholic priest. And they said, yeah, I know, that's why I'm asking you. Which is the right religion? And I said, well, I'm contractually obligated to inform you that the one true Church of Jesus Christ is the Catholic Church, and all who seek salvation are obliged to enter it. If you ask a Catholic priest what's the right church religion, you should be able to predict that answer. Now, the truth is that I sincerely believe that the Catholic Church is true. Why else would I do this? Certainly not for the pay. I think it's a question that all of us ask sooner or later. What's the right religion? And really, the truth is we don't have to look through every religion in order to determine it. Really, the question comes down to, is Jesus who he said he was? Is Jesus who he said he was? Because Jesus makes a unique claim. Every other founder of a major religion has claimed to have a special insight, special information, or a special revelation. Muhammad claimed that he had a message from an angel, that he was a prophet. Joseph Smith claimed that he had found this lost Book of Mormon. The Buddha claimed that he had a new insight into what it means to suffer, where suffering comes from, and how to fix it. But not one of these founders of a major religion made the claim that Jesus does. You see, Jesus doesn't claim to have a special revelation. Jesus claims to be a special revelation. Jesus claims that his special information about God comes from the fact that he himself is God. Jesus alone claims to be God. And the reason why every other founder of a major religion has not claimed to be God is because I think the obvious answer is they're either crazy or they're a liar, right? If you claim to be God and you're not really God, then either you know that and therefore you're a good liar, or you don't know that and therefore you're a lunatic. Unless the claim is true, in which case Jesus really is the Lord. A lot of people will tell you, if you ask who is Jesus, like they ask in today's gospel reading, a lot of people will tell you, well, he was a good teacher, well, he was a wise guide, he was a good, holy man. But that's the one thing Jesus cannot be, because no one who claims to be God could be a wise guide, a good teacher, a holy man if that claim isn't true. He'd have to be a lunatic or a liar. Jesus is either a lunatic or a liar or the Lord. I believe that you're here today because you believe that Jesus is the Lord, that Jesus' claims about him were true. And I think we can look at the evidence in Scripture, we can look at the evidence from history, we can look at the miracles that are reported, but ultimately, the claim that Jesus makes in today's gospel is the key to verifying whether or not what he says is true. He says that as part of being the Messiah, as part of being the Son of God, he's meant to be a sacrifice, that he's going to suffer and die. But he says, on the third day, he'll be raised from the dead. He's going to rise again. He predicts not only his painful death on the cross, but he predicts his glorious resurrection from the dead. And here's the fun part. When Jesus rises from the dead, his disciples are not, oh man, was that today? Oh, I always forget these things. They're like, nope, couldn't have happened. Nope, not true. Someone must have stolen the body. Jesus' disciples have to be convinced of the truth of what he says. He says that he's God, and then he proves that he is God. Jesus is who he says he is. And if Jesus is who he says he is, then you are who Jesus says you are. You see, Jesus not only has special insight into who God is, but because he with the Father, everything was made through him, he has special insight into who we are. Jesus claims that we are beloved creatures of God, that God is our Father, that he has adopted us as his children. Jesus claims that we are worth not only his suffering, but his death, that Jesus offers his very blood, his very life for us, so that we can be forgiven, so that we can be washed clean. Jesus tells us, be not afraid, that because he is Lord and has all power in heaven and on earth, we shouldn't fear when we see rumors of wars or natural disasters or upcoming presidential elections. Be not afraid. Why? Because he is in control, and because he's moving through the events of this world to draw us into the Father's kingdom. Jesus is who he says he is, and that means we are who he says we are. We can live with the same freedom and with the same peace that Jesus did. In our first reading, we see Isaiah realizes that his call from God is going to include a lot of suffering. But he is not afraid, because he knows that God will never leave him, that God will not abandon him, and that if he is faithful to God, God will always be faithful to him. He stands secure in God's love for him. And this is God's desire for each of us. In our second reading, we see that it's that our faith should issue forth into works, that because we have faith in God, we can then be generous with the people around us. There's no need to hoard our possessions. There's no need to protect ourselves from others. That we should look at others and see in them what God sees in them, beloved children of God, each a unique gift, precious and special, whether they realize it or not. And that we should reach out in love and generosity to them as our Father is loving and generous to us. That we can be kind and compassionate to those around us because we've already received God's love for us. It's no good to say that I believe in this loving God, this good Father, if we ourselves are not good fathers and loving people. God's love is meant to transform us so that his word becomes flesh inside of us, and that our daily struggles and sufferings are united with him on the cross. Because if we desire to rise with Jesus, we can't be afraid to die with him. We can't expect to share in the glory of Jesus if we haven't shared in his suffering. And Jesus makes it clear that living a life of self-giving love in this world will always cause suffering and pain. And yet, it's worth it. Jesus lives that life, and he invites us to do the same. Today, I invite you to take confidence in the fact that Jesus is who he says he is, and you are who he says you are. A husband and wife had decided to take a vacation to Arizona, but because of grandkid situations and job situations and whatever, they decided it was best to fly separately. So the husband flew down first, and then he sent an email to his wife. Unfortunately, the email address he sent it to was slightly wrong, and it wound up going to a widow who'd recently buried her husband. Imagine her surprise when she read, "Honey, I just arrived safely. It was quite the trip. I look forward to telling you all about it. See you tomorrow. P.S. Sure is hot here."